See the bumblebee? Bye, bumblebee. Hey you guys, I wanted to do a video today on how and when to water your plants for maximum growth and to prevent disease and destruction. So let me show you how to do it. Alright, so in the process here of hardening off these plants, they're out in the sun and they're in small containers. And lucky for me, I work from home, so I'm able to come out and check them a few times a day. But something to take notice of when a plant is ready to be watered is that the topsoil will be dry. That one definitely needs it. On something like this, you can see it's dry, but this can be deceiving. It is best to make sure that you do a finger check. So you put your finger down an inch in the soil, and if it's dry, then you're obviously going to go ahead and water it. So that's what I'm going to do right now, even though please be aware that it is best to water your plants in the morning or in the early evening, not during midday. But if your plants do need water during midday, it's best to just give it to them rather than holding off, because sometimes it's more than they can bear and they'll just die. So I will give these guys water, but I'm going to be very careful not to get any water splashed up onto these leaves. And I know this pot looks terrible. It's just random stuff that started growing. I didn't even know there was seeds in it anymore. So I've just been letting it grow. Now, a really good method is the water, wait, and water method. So you want to, just like it sounds, give it some water, wait a second, and then see if it needs some more. The biggest thing is that you want to make sure that the water gets down, to the very bottom, to the sublayer of the soil. Down, in these pots it's not going to be as much, but especially when they're in the garden, you want the water to get down 3 to 4 inches below the topsoil. And sometimes with these composts or with some of the stuff we put in it, it absorbs water and doesn't allow it to go down into the lower layers. So it's really important that we water it, give it a second to soak in, and then come by and water it again if need be. Look at all of this awesomeness, from peppers to tomatoes, corn, squash, everything that you could imagine. Yummy. Well, not yet, but as soon as it grows, it will be yummy. Alright, so now that we've got those watered, I did want to share with you guys another tip for giving your plants the best start possible, and that is making sure to let your water from the tap sit out for 24 to 48 hours due to chlorine. So most water systems in the United States add chlorine to their water in order to disinfect it, but it's not good for your plants as well as it's not good for you. If you have a way, even for yourself, to put the water in a pitcher, let it sit for 24 to 48 hours so that chlorine can evaporate off, then you can go ahead and use it for your plants. Now I know it seems to be like additional work, but if you're doing container gardening or you have plants in the house, if you're able to do this, it really does make a big difference for your plants. We're really lucky here where we live. Our hose water actually comes from the streams up in the mountain directly from it, so there's no chlorine added. But don't get too jealous just yet, because it does come with a lot of seeds for weeds and plants that you don't want to be growing. So that's really hard to keep up on. But yeah, that would be my next tip when you are watering your plants. Bam! Next tip for your plants. Make sure that when you're watering, you do it at the soil level. Now this is important for many reasons, but some of the few that have been helpful for me is with tomatoes. If you're watering from above the ground, the soil tends to splash around, and if it gets on the leaves, it does cause disease. Same with things like squash and zucchini. If you get the leaves wet, it actually causes blight, and then the plant ends up dying. So it's really important, to water everything at the soil level. And if you're concerned about this, they have a lot of really amazing things that you can do now. There's the drip method. You can buy the systems, or they're actually fairly easy to make on your own. Or you can do the splash hoses. So it looks like a flat, long hose with little holes in it. You just lay it along your line of crops and turn on the system, the water system, and water will slowly come out of there. Basically like a no drip system, but a little more water is coming out. So there's lots of hoses and attachments that you can use to make it kind of like a rainfall effect, and that has the long attachments so you can get close into the soil without having to kill your back. There's lots of things that you can do, but as my next tip here, it really is best to make sure that you are watering everything at the soil level, not above and all over the top of the plant and the leaves. All right, so the last two tips I want to talk to you guys about is overwatering and when to water. So, I mean, we already discussed that you want to water in the morning or in the early evening, but it also is kind of specific to plants. So if you have little seedlings starting, you may need to monitor that throughout the day. It's usually, you know, if you're starting it in a small pot, there's not a lot of soil to hold water, and so you need to be checking on that. Especially like I had told you guys, where these are out in the sun being hardened off, they dry up really quick. So I do check on them several times a day to make sure that they're getting their water needs. The other thing, you know, so with the seedlings, you need to monitor that, especially if they're in small pots. But with the flowering plants or fruiting plants, you will also want to make sure that you add more water, so that way you're meeting the needs for your crop. And then the other thing, is overwatering. So if you're not doing the finger check method or never have before, you have probably overwatered your plants. I think everyone probably has before, but it's really important that you're not giving them too much water. First of all, you will drain the soil of its nutrients if they're in pots like this and you're just pouring a ton of water in. They don't like to be overly saturated with water. It causes root rot, and if you're noticing that the leaves are turning kind of yellow, or the plants are starting to fall over, and you haven't been able to see any type of pest or recognize any type of disease, odds are you are overwatering your plants. So again, what I would do, take your pot and do the finger check method. Put your finger in an inch deep, and if it feels wet, you're good to go. If it is dry, you need to add water. So not that difficult, but something to be aware of, because it is really easy to kill your plants by not giving them enough water and also by overwatering them. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys. Please let me know if this was new information for you with a comment down below. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications when new videos are uploaded, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. Huh, Bosley? Bosley said yeah. Hey you guys, I wanted to do a video today on good grief. It's also a curse. So we don't have the chlorinated or the chlorination added to it. Yeah, I just said it like that. Let it sit out for 24 to 48 hours so that chlorination will evaporate. Did I just call it chlorination again? Good grief. Okay, so now that we've got that taken care of, the next tip that I want to discuss with you guys is making sure to dechlorinate your water, if that's a way that you can call it. But if you have the time, or, you know, if you're able to go and buy one of those hoses that, dang it, plant. Sorry, there's construction going around. We'll just wait for that to pass. Dang it.